Millionaire returns at midnight. What he finds will haunt you forever. It was the stroke of midnight when billionaire Marcus Henley, fresh from a lavish gala, returned to his sprawling estate. The moon hung low, cloaking the world in a ghostly glow. As he approached his front door, a chill prickled down his spine. The normally pristine lawn was disturbed, wild plants silhouetted against the pale light, casting eerie shadows that danced like lost souls. He froze, his heart hammering in his chest. What kind of mischief had stolen into his home? Was it mere nature or something far more sinister? His breath caught in his throat as the door creaked open, as if inviting him into a forgotten realm. The air was thick with an unsettling silence, a stillness that felt as if the house itself was holding its breath. The usual comfort of his mansion turned cold. The antiques, once proud and polished, now appeared as mute sentinels, watching, judging, whispering secrets he wasn't meant to know. Deep shadows pooled in the corners, and for a fleeting moment, he wondered if he was truly alone or if the ghosts of his past had come to welcome him back. The light flickered above, and in that moment, it felt like time itself shifted. A faint sound echoed from the basement, a soft humming. Marcus strained to listen. It was a haunting lullaby, one that draped over him like a cobweb. The hairs on the back of his neck stood up. Who would be down there? He hesitated, the weight in his stomach clustering tighter, a wave of dread washing over him. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. With a deep, steadying breath, he gripped the banister and crept toward the basement door. The wooden frame felt cold under his palm, as if it were warning him. Without another thought, he pushed it open. The sound echoed ominously down the dark corridor. Each step he took was met by the soft, menacing hum, pulling him deeper into the abyss. His heart raced faster now, fear thawing into a primal instinct. As he reached the bottom of the stairs, a flicker of light caught his eye, a candle, flickering on a table surrounded by a series of ornate mirrors covered in dust. But it wasn't the candle that sent his heart into a freefall, it was the shadow standing in front of him, barely visible in the flickering light. It was long and twisted, taking on the form of something unfathomable. His mouth opened to scream, but the sound caught as the figure turned. A familiar face stared back, eyes wide and hollow, yet gleaming with a terrifying truth. Was it someone he thought he lost? Or was it something altogether darker? The mystery deepened, coiling around his mind like a serpent. What was happening in his home? Who was this ghostly apparition? What price would Marcus have to pay to uncover the dark secret lurking in the shadows of his life? His heart thudded relentlessly in his chest as recognition washed over him like a cold wave. It was Sarah, his twin sister, lost to tragedy years ago. The haunting smile on her face sent shivers down his spine, a mix of nostalgia and fear swirling within him. Marcus, her voice was a whisper, delicate yet echoing ominously around the dimly lit basement. You shouldn't have come back. Every nerve in his body screamed for him to flee, but the sheer shock pinned him in place. Sarah? Is that really you? His voice cracked with disbelief, the once intimate bond now marred by shadows of the past. I've been here waiting, she replied, stepping closer, her form flickering like the candle beside her. You didn't look for me, did you? The question pierced him deeply, guilt crashing over him like a tidal wave. Uncertainty enveloped the room, wrapping around him tighter with every word spoken. I thought you were gone. You never wanted to know the truth. Her voice sharpened, slicing through the tension with authority. The air crackled, musty with unspoken secrets. You've built this life, this facade, and now the reality is clawing its way back to you. Truth? What truth? Anxiety twisted in his gut. He could feel the history buried beneath years of lies threatening to unearth itself. Sarah pointed behind her, towards the mirrors, each reflecting disjointed images, forming a nightmarish tapestry of flickers and shadows. "Look, Marcus." He hesitated, but curiosity won out. As he stepped forward, the reflection began to morph. Scenes of his childhood flashed before his eyes, laughter, family gatherings, and then it. The night of the accident. Whispers of blame fell like snowflakes, his parents' arguments, police sirens, her empty seat at the table. "Stop!" he shouted, heart racing as fear coiled deeper. I can't watch this." The mirrors held him captive, the images refusing to blur. "You don't get to escape, Marcus. Not anymore." Veins of terror coursed through him, each new scene a stake driven into his heart. He felt Sarah's presence fading, the candle sputtering ominously as shadows thickened. Noise erupted from the oblivion, voices from long ago battling for his attention. "Why didn't you save me?" The echoes rumbled, spiraling on repeat. Gritting his teeth, he turned back to Sarah. "What do you want from me?" His voice quivered, desperation leaking into every syllable. Her eyes, once so full of life, were now deep wells of suffering. "Redemption," she breathed, a hint of warmth returning to her expression. "You have to confront the darkness that took me, or it will take you too." Staggering backward, Marcus felt the walls closing in, the basement so much smaller following her revelation. His life the success, the wealth felt suddenly superficial. Was he really free if he had never confronted the truth? Footsteps echoed above, pulling him back from the brink. Was someone else in the house? Panic set in again as his heart raced. Who else could possibly share the same fate? "What is happening?" Marcus shouted, but Sarah just shrugged, an unsettling smile hinting at the edges of her lips. "Find out," she trailed off, the candle flickering one last time before snuffing out altogether, plunging him into darkness. In that moment of empty silence, the whispers grew louder, calling him back. Was this a family secret buried too deep to ever uncover? Was he truly the one to lift the veil? He felt the icy grip of fear tighten. To save himself, he would have to unravel the whole truth, and that truth could destroy him. But what horrors awaited him above? Would the past claim its final revenge? Panic tightened its grip around Marcus's throat as he stood in the suffocating darkness. Every shadow seemed to shudder, whispering secrets he wasn't ready to hear. The absence of light swallowed him whole. He felt the walls pulsing, as if they were alive and restless. One thought screamed louder than the rest: he had to get out. Suddenly, a thud echoed above him, pulling his attention back to the reality of the world outside this cursed space. The footsteps grew louder, drifting down from the floor above, heavy and deliberate. Did he really want to face whatever awaited him up there? "Sarah!" he called, his voice cracking into the void. The response was silence, thick and ominous. "What do I do?" The darkness felt suffocating, cold. He pressed himself against the wall, fingertips trailing over its damp surface. Was it sweat from the oppressive air or something more sinister? He pushed forward, guided only by instinct, fear whipping him on. As he stumbled towards the stairs, another noise broke through the silence, a low creak, like the settling of wood under a burden. He stopped, heart pounding, straining to listen. Could it be someone else in the house? His fingers grazed the cold railing as he took a shaky step upward, determined to confront the mystery above. With each step, fragments of memories crashed over him like waves. Laughter. The scent of his mother's cooking. The warmth of family gatherings. And then, the accident. It clawed at his heart, reminding him of the silence that had followed. Upstairs, the air was different, charged and electric. Marcus stepped into the main room, eyes adjusting to the soft moonlight filtering through the curtains. It bathed everything in an ethereal glow, yet the brightness felt deceptive. "Hello," he called, voice steady despite the tremor beneath. The room was still, but something felt off. Items were strewn about as if a struggle had erupted: overturned furniture, scattered papers. And then he spotted a photograph on the floor, face down. With trembling hands, he picked it up. It was a picture of him and Sarah from their childhood, a bright summer day at the lake. Laughter echoed faintly, like ghosts whispering. But chillingly, another figure stood behind them, a shadowy outline he couldn't place. His skin prickled as he traced the outline with his finger. "Who are you?" he murmured, fear pooling in his stomach. Suddenly, the front door slammed shut, making him jump. The echo reverberated like a gunshot in his chest. Cautiously, he stepped towards the door, breath quickening. The world outside seemed a lifetime away, but he knew he couldn't stay here. He had to uncover the truth, and whatever lurked in the shadows was getting closer. He turned, prepared to move deeper into the house, but a low, chilling laugh interrupted his thoughts. It resonated through the hall, familiar yet twisted, a mockery of the joy he once knew. "Did you really think you could just leave?" The voice, a sinister whisper entwined with jagged edges, sent chills down his spine. It was a voice he knew, a voice that belonged to someone he trusted. "Where are you?" Marcus shot back, adrenaline sparking as anger fused with fear. "Show yourself." "Why would I hide?" It echoed again, closer. You haven't even begun to understand what really happened. He felt the walls drawing in, the shadows closing ranks around him. Suddenly, a flicker of light ignited the dark, and he squinted to see the figure silhouetted against the brightness. The resemblance was uncanny. "What do you want?" he demanded, voice rising with desperation. "I want you to face the truth, Marcus," the figure replied, stepping into the light. "There are things you don't remember, and things that should never be uncovered." His heart pounded wildly. What truth was he missing? And was he truly ready to face it? As the figure reached out, the ceiling creaked ominously, and Marcus stepped back, heart racing, mind swirling with questions. Could this truly be the answer he sought, or the final curse of his family? The shadows whispered louder, urging him to remember. But instead, he turned and ran, determined to escape, yet knowing the darkness would always follow. What awaited him beyond the door? Would he uncover a family secret entwined in blood, or face an even darker fate? The chase had just begun. Marcus bolted back into the hall, adrenaline surging through his veins. The darkness felt thicker now, almost tangible, as if it reached for him with icy fingers. He could hear the laughter again, echoing in the corners of his mind, mingling with the sinister voice that taunted him from the shadows. "Don't run, Marcus. You can't escape your past." Every heartbeat thundered in his ears, drowning out the rustle of fabric behind him and the creak of the house settling. He reached the door leading to the back of the house and yanked it open, the hinges squealing in protest. Cold air rushed in, biting at his skin, but it was a relief from the oppressive atmosphere. As he crossed the threshold, the moonlight illuminated the narrow porch, flickering shadows dancing in the beams. For one fleeting moment, he thought he could sprint away, escape whatever terror lurked behind him. But hesitation gripped him, planting his feet in place. They always said you should never look back. Yet he turned, driven by a primal urge to confront his fears. The figure stood at the edge of the doorway, an ethereal glow outlining their body against the darkness. The faintest trace of familiarity lingered, like the scent of a long-forgotten childhood. "Why are you doing this?" he shouted, voice wavering between anger and desperation. "Because you have to learn the truth, Marcus. It's your destiny." A flood of memories surged unbidden, a childhood full of laughter, summers spent by the lake, a family once whole. But that was shattered the day everything changed. What truth remained hidden that he had to face? The shadow's eyes glinted with something he couldn't quite name, sorrow, hatred, hope, perhaps all at once. Marcus knew he had to go. The house, this prison, held no solace, only echoes of things best left buried. He dashed down the steps into the yard, the grass wet and cold beneath his bare feet. The night was alive with sounds, crickets chirping, leaves rustling in the wind, and somewhere, distant sirens wailing. "Marcus, don't you want to understand?" The voice chased him into the darkness. "I want nothing to do with you," he screamed back, feeling anguish rise in his chest. "You're just a ghost of my past." As he sprinted to the tree lean at the far end of the property, the oppressive weight of the house lifted slightly, but he could still feel the darkness wrapping its tendrils around him like a shroud. He could escape tonight, but would it be enough? Would running bring him peace or only shadow him forever? The rustling in the underbrush made him freeze. Was it just wildlife? Or was something else watching him from the depths? Panic coursed through him again as he dared not breathe. Then a sharp rustle broke the stillness. Whatever was stalking him wasn't human. Instinct kicked in, the fight-or-flight response bubbling to the surface. He had to know what was coming. With one shaky step, he turned and faced the sound, every nerve ending alive. Out from the shadows burst a pair of eyes glowing, malevolent. Heart in his throat, he backed away, catching sight of a massive creature, twisted and grotesque. It lunged, teeth bared, and Marcus exploded into motion. "Get away!" he shouted, running deep into the woods, his breath coming in ragged gasps. Behind him, the growl rose, deep and guttural. What hunted him now? What secret, once buried, was clawing back to the surface? He had broken free, but at what cost? As branches scratched and snagged at his skin, he spun around, half expecting to see the friendly face of his past. But terror was all around him, pressing in. Would he uncover the truth of his family's tragedy, or would the pursuing dark claim him at last? The woods closed in, and he felt his resolve slipping. In a moment that stretched into infinity, everything paused, and breath caught in his throat. Then a voice, familiar yet distorted, echoed through the trees. "It's not just the monsters you should fear, Marcus. The chase was far from over." What would he face in the heart of the forest, and how would it change everything he thought he knew? Marcus stumbled deeper into the woods, branches scratching at his arms, the cold biting at his skin. Each step felt like wading through a nightmare, a relentless pull of dread dragging him backward. He could barely hear his own gasping breaths over the feral growling behind him. Fear had turned his legs to lead, the glowing eyes pursued him, the sound of snapping twigs echoing in the stillness, a sinister heartbeat in the darkness. What kind of creature could chase him with such ferocity? Sweat mingled with dirt on his forehead, blurring his vision. But then a thought surged over the panic. Was it just the creature he feared? Or was it the truth that hovered like a shroud, waiting to unveil itself when he least expected it? Questions twisted in his gut, gnawing at his resolve. He needed clarity. He needed something. "Marcus!" The voice called again, echoing through the trees, soft but insistent. "Turn back. You need to confront it." He hesitated, one foot raised, suspended in time. The memories swirled in his mind, chaotic flashes of laughter, warmth, and dark shadows that danced around them. It was no longer just the creature chasing him, it was everything he had buried deep inside. "I can't!" he roared into the night, the sound rippling like a tortured whisper through the leaves. "I won't face that." Suddenly, the growl shifted, more of a low rumble now, laughing at his defiance. The sound reverberated through the branches, taunting him as he pressed on, darting between trees, every muscle tensed and straining. He felt the grip of panic constricting around his heart, each thump echoing louder. Then it happened. A sharp pain surged through his ankle, and he yelped, twisting to find himself tangled in a mass of vines. His pulse quickened with fresh terror as he wrestled against them, but they only tightened. "Let me go!" he screamed, the darkness clawing at his sanity. But the voice was still there, soft and insistent. "The only way out is through." The growl approached, closer now. The eyes were fixed on him, gleaming with something he couldn't quite fathom: hunger, rage, a sense of purpose. Marcus fought harder, the tendrils biting into his skin. As he strained, the voice cut through the chaos like a shimmering beacon. "Face it, Marcus. Let the truth set you free." In one desperate move, he summoned every ounce of strength, and with a violent jerk, he broke free from the vine's hold and stumbled backward. But he was met with the creature, its grotesque form now fully illuminated by the moonlight. It stood there, waiting, eyes wide and glistening like glass, the grotesque features shifting in the shadows. Was it monstrous? Yes. But there was also something tragic in its gaze, something that screamed for understanding. Why? He gasped, confusion sweeping over him. Why are you chasing me? The creature tilted its head, a low growl rumbling in its throat, not in anger but in desperation. Then it lifted a paw, almost gentle, and pointed deeper into the woods. Go. It said, the voice a mixture of growl and whisper, echoing the urgency of something Marcus had yet to understand. He hesitated, but something shifted in him. That tug from the past, the echo of laughter combined with the haunting truth, broke the chains of his fear. Taking a step forward, he whispered, "What do you want from me?" In reply, the creature turned and began to slink away, glancing over its shoulder to ensure Marcus followed. What lay ahead, hidden beneath the branches and shadows? What awaited him in the heart of this cursed place? With each step, the night pulsed with an electric tension, his heart thundering in sync with the creeping dread. Would he unearth the truth he feared? Or would he be consumed by the very darkness he had tried to escape? As he followed deeper into the woods, the promise of resolution hung heavy in the air. He could feel it, just out of reach. The shadows closed around him as the trees thickened, their gnarled branches forming an ominous archway. What lay beyond would change everything and lead him to the haunting revelation he never dared to imagine. In that moment, as he crossed the threshold into the unknown, he couldn't help but wonder, what if the truth was more terrifying than the monsters? Marcus moved cautiously, his heart a chaotic drum against his ribcage. The creature led him forward, its strides almost graceful as it weaved through the underbrush, but the uncertainty rippling through Marcus was palpable. The air thickened with tension, each breath like inhaling a dense fog of dread. What awaited him deeper in these woods? The trees loomed overhead, their twisted branches clawing at the pale moonlight, casting jagged shadows that danced around him like ghosts. Every rustle in the undergrowth sent a fresh wave of fear shooting through him. Anxiety gnawed at his insides, rising like bile. Yet, a flicker of curiosity ignited within him a desperate need to confront the truth that had haunted him for years. "Where are you taking me?" He called out into the darkness, his voice quaking. The creature paused, glancing back at him. Its eyes held something almost human and understanding, perhaps. A warning? Without answering, it resumed its path, and Marcus followed, his feet heavy with uncertainty. The shadows felt alive, almost sentient, wrapping around him like a thick blanket of foreboding. He wanted to turn back. He should turn back. But the thought of the truth felt like a siren song, pulling him further into the abyss. Suddenly, they emerged into a clearing bathed in silver light. An ancient stone altar stood at the center, covered in moss and vines as though nature was attempting to reclaim it. It looked otherworldly, as if it had materialized from another time, another realm. The air seemed to vibrate with unspoken words, and Marcus felt a magnetic pull toward it. The creature halted beside the altar, its gaze now locked on Marcus. "This is where it begins, the reckoning you've avoided," it growled softly, its voice reverberating deep in Marcus's bones. "What do you mean?" he demanded, stepping closer. His pulse raced as emotions clashed within him, fear battling with an undeniable urge to uncover the dark veil that cloaked his past. "Your truth is here." The creature's tone shifted from commanding to almost pleading. "To heal, you must break the bonds of your past. Step forth." Instinctively, Marcus took a step back, a chill sweeping through him. Memories swarmed like a vicious swarm of wasps. The laughter, the warmth and the shattering moments that had turned his life into a maze of regrets. The faces of loved ones stole into his mind, morphing into strangers. Shadows stretched out in the corners of his memory, whispering secrets he wished to forget. "I can't," he stammered, the fear twisting around his throat like a noose. "I can't face what I've done." "Neither can you escape it," the creature replied, its voice louder, more insistent. "Face it, Marcus. You cannot run forever." Through gritted teeth, he clenched his fists, the weight of his past pressing down on him like the roots of the very trees surrounding them. He felt trapped, ensnared in a web of his own making. With a trembling hand, he reached out toward the altar, half terrified, half curious. As his palm made contact with the cold stone, a surge of energy coursed through him, piercing the fog of his fear. Visions began to flood his mind, fragments of events he had tried to bury and suppress. Laughter turned to screams, warmth to chilling silence. Each image was sharper than the last, each emotion cutting deeper. "No!" he cried out, stumbling back, but it was too late. The darkness began to swirl around him, pulling him in as the creature watched, its expression unreadable. "Let it come," it urged, but Marcus struggled against the tide of memories that threatened to overwhelm him. A deafening roar echoed, shaking the ground beneath his feet as shadows danced menacingly around him. What was this? The past come to claim him? Suddenly, the ground trembled violently, the altar cracking under the pressure. "Face it!" The creature shouted above the chaos, but even its voice faded beneath the rising tempest. As he fought against the memories terrifyingly alive in his mind, a singular thought pierced through the cacophony: what if the truth was not the monster he feared? But the key to his freedom, his vision blurred from fear and realization, and as he braced himself for the convergence of past and present, he realized this was the moment that would define him. What awaited him in the depths of that truth? Would it tear him apart, or would it offer the salvation he desperately sought? The shadows whispered, and the ground quaked, but above it all, Marcus felt a flicker of hope. He knew he had to embrace what he had tried to outrun, even if it meant facing the unimaginable. The altar's surface began to glow, illuminating the darkness as a figure emerged from the shadows, and Marcus gasped. What was once hidden was now lurking on the edge of dawning light. The figure stepped into the light, and Marcus felt his heart lurch. His breath caught in his throat as the faint outline began to solidify. It was a woman, her face hauntingly familiar, yet marred by shadows that seemed to cling to her like a shroud. Sarah. The name slipped from his lips, barely a whisper. He didn't understand. How could she be here? Memories of their time together washed over him like a wave. Moments filled with laughter, love, and that terrible night that split them apart. Marcus. Sarah's voice was almost ethereal, laden with sorrow. You've searched for answers, but the truth hides in places you're afraid to tread. No, it can't be you, he stammered, shaking his head as tears threatened to blur his vision. I lost you. Everyone said you were gone. His words hung in the air, thick with disbelief and regret. I'm not gone, I've always been here, she said, stepping closer, her eyes searching his. In the spaces between your choices, in the echoes of the life you abandoned. Marcus felt a cold wind ripple through the clearing, the shadows in the trees shifting as if echoing her words. The creature that had been guiding him stood watchful, its presence more menacing now. Face what you've done. It barked, urging him, perhaps even warning him. The altar hummed beneath his palm, and he could feel the energy swirling around, merging with the emotions flooding his mind. Why are you here? He demanded of Sarah, his voice trembling. What do you want from me? The enormity of his pain gripped him tight, but deep down, there was a crackling bar of energy, hope fighting against the despair. I want you to remember, she said softly. Not just the part that haunts you, but the moments that made you whole. Understand what you lost and what you need to reclaim. Suddenly, flashes of vibrant images cascaded through him. They were small, seemingly insignificant moments, a picnic in the park, the shared laughter over a silly joke, her hand in his as they stargazed. Each scene bloomed with color, unfurling like a flower in the darkness. But then, the laughter faltered. A rift split through those memories, dark and throbbing the night of the accident, the shattering of trust, the silent grief that buried him every day since. No, he gasped, stumbling back again, struggling against the tumult of memories that assaulted his heart. I can't go back there. It's too painful. It's not the pain you face that will break you, Sarah insisted, a fierce determination lighting her eyes. It's what you refuse to acknowledge. The ground beneath them trembled more violently now, the altar glowing brighter as the memories clashed within him. He could feel a storm brewing, a tempest of emotions that threatened to engulf him entirely. Will you let the past bind you? The creature growled, its voice resonating with a raw, echoing truth. Or will you take that step into light and reclaim what is rightfully yours? Marcus's hands shook against the altar's cold surface. He felt the urgency of time pressing against him. The shadows whispered, crawling closer, feeding off his fear, yet somehow, the flicker of hope remained. Face it, Marcus, the creature continued, now an unwavering force in his corner. This is your moment. Seize it. Sweat trickled down his brow, fear and anger coiling like a serpent within him. He looked between Sarah's familiar face and the darkness closing in. With a roar that reverberated through the very core of his being, he stepped forward. I'm ready, he declared. I'll face it, all of it. The shadows recoiled, as if awed by his acceptance. The altar pulsed with light, dazzling and blinding, casting the darkness away like morning sun breaking over a vast horizon. But just as the light reached its peak, a low growl echoed through the trees, cutting through the moment of triumph like ice. What you unleash may change you forever, the creature warned, its voice low and grave. Marcus's heart raced as the altar cracked wide open, revealing a dark chasm beneath. The ground rumbled, sending tremors through the air. He could feel the weight of his choices pressing down, the echoes of what could be slipping through his fingers. What lay beyond that chasm? A new beginning or the end of everything he knew? As the light flickered and the shadows swirled, Marcus stood at the edge of his past and future, ready to take the leap. Could he withstand the truth that awaited him? The answer was somewhere down that abyss, and once he stepped, there would be no turning back. Marcus's pulse thundered in his ears as the altar gaped wide, a mouth of darkness beckoning him forward. The air was heavy, charged with tension, and the world around him trembled like the batter of a drum, each heartbeat echoing in the silence. He felt the shadows whisper, twisting words that seared into his mind. Are you really ready to know? They seemed to taunt. Shut up. Marcus snapped, the words escaping before he could contain them. Anger surged through him, mingling with fear, igniting a fire that pushed him closer to the edge. Sarah's gaze pierced through his turmoil. You've always wanted the truth, Marcus. You sought it out, but did you ever think about the cost? Cost? He threw back, his voice cracking under the pressure. I've already lost everything. No, she replied, her tone softening, as if trying to guide him. You've lost part of yourself. Remember what made you whole. He swallowed hard as memories flickered in his mind like a faulty projector, snippets of their life together buried deep in the muck of regret. Faces and laughter twisted like vines winding around his heart, tightening with every inhale. The longer he dwelled in the past, the more his resolve wavered. The creature, looming like a dark sentinel, growled, the truth is a double-edged sword, Marcus. Are you prepared to wield it? Sudden dread clouded his thoughts. What lay ahead? What was that truth? Would it be a balm for his festering wounds or a blade that sliced deeper? The abyss whispered insidiously, its pull strong. Every moment spent teetering on the edge fed the shadows that lurked nearby. He could almost hear their hungry scoffs, see their tails curling in impatience. They were like vultures, waiting for him to make the wrong move. I can't just jump in blind. He yelled back at the darkness, frustration coursing through him. Tell me what I'll face. The shadows stirred, their sounds shifting from whispers to a cacophony of anguished wails, echoing his own internal torment. They twisted, forming shapes that morphed into what he feared most, visions of his past mistakes, failures, and the anguish in Sarah's eyes the night of the accident. No. I can't. The words caught in his throat, thick as molasses. Embrace it, Marcus. Sarah urged, stepping into the blaze of the altar's light. I will be there with you. Every fracture of your soul, we will face it together. His resolve solidified for a moment, but doubt gnawed at his core. What if he couldn't do it? What if the truth fractured him even more? With a sudden and explosive wave of energy, he shouted, I will face it, but I won't face it alone. As if in answer, the light surged, and the shadows recoiled. The altar trembled as ancient energies rose from the chasm, swirling upwards and around him, wrapping him in a cocoon of power. Remember, Marcus, the creature warned, its voice a deep rumble that resonated through his bones. The moment you leap, there will be no shielding yourself from what you uncover. His heart raced as he stared into the dark void below. Tightening his grip on the edge, he took a deep breath, the air sharp and electric, fingers twitching with anticipation. The ground shook beneath him, and the echoes of his past roared louder, threatening to drown him in despair. I'm ready. He bellowed, letting the surge of emotion and determination swell within him. As he stepped forward, the warmth of the light engulfed him, but in that blinding moment of truth, just beyond the chasm's gaping maw, a sinister truth surged forth. Would the past reveal an unexpected ally or the enemy he feared the most? As he plunged into the abyss, the shadows clung to him unwavering, and ever more menacing. The scream of the void promised revelations that would either redeem him or consume him whole. What truth awaited him in the dark? Would he emerge whole or forever lost? The abyss enveloped Marcus, a rush of cold air snaking around him like icy fingers. Every flicker of light faded, replaced by a suffocating darkness. The shadows that had once brushed against his skin now wrapped around him tightly, squeezing out breaths and thoughts alike. Marcus, a voice echoed, hauntingly familiar. It was a whisper drenched in sadness, echoing off unseen walls. Can you hear me? Sarah? He called out, but the word hung in the void, swallowed before it could reach her. Panic clawed at his throat. He had felt her presence, so close, but now she was just a ghost in the dark. Images began to swirl around him, rising from the depths of memory. Twisted reflections of moments he had tried to bury. Laughter at their favorite cafe, late-night talks under the stars, the last time he'd seen her smile before everything shattered. Each snapshot was a jagged shard, tearing at the fragile fabric of his sanity. Face it, Marcus. She urged again, the urgency in her voice sharp enough to cut. You have to confront what you've been running from. But what would that mean? The weight of guilt pressed heavily on his chest, a solid block that threatened to crush him. He could feel the shadows pulsing, throbbing in rhythm with his heart, as if they fed off his turmoil. I don't want to, I can't. He screamed, desperation clawing at his resolve. In response, the shadows shifted, forming images that morphed into grotesque figures, reminders of every failure, every wrong step he'd taken. There was the accident, a brief glimpse of twisted metal and flaring lights illuminating the night that changed everything. The day he hadn't been there to save her, the moment he had lost her. No. He shouted, clenching his fists. You're not real. This can't be all there is. The darkness thickened, and voices of the past echoed back to him, friends who turned to whispers, teachers who had given up, and the haunting silence that followed Sarah's absence. Marcus. Her voice broke through the chaos, softer now. You have to realize something, I never blamed you. A crack formed in the gripping shadows around him. But I blamed myself. Every day, Sarah. Why did I let it happen? You can't change the past, she said, her presence growing brighter in the suffocating blackness. You can only embrace it and learn. The darkness continued to thrum with energy, vibrating with the weight of his sorrow. The pull was immense, a vast well of emotion threatening to swallow him whole. Yet, as he closed his eyes, he saw a spark, a single flame flickering amidst the gloom. It was hope, buried but alive. Take my hand, Marcus, she urged. You don't have to do this alone. Tentatively, he extended his palm, and an electric jolt shot through him as the shadows roared, swirling violently around the emerging light. He could feel her warmth, her presence guiding him, urging him to step forward. "I'm ready," he shouted back, the confidence building inside him like a rising tide. As he reached for the spark, the ground beneath him trembled once more, and with each ounce of strength, he pulled himself into that light, but as he surged upwards, fighting against the dark tide, an ominous shiver coursed through the air. Laughter echoed from the void, not playful but sinister, mocking his efforts. "You think this is the end?" The last remnants of the abyss clung desperately to him, and just before he could break free, a chilling voice hissed in his ear, "The truth will always find you, Marcus. You can't escape." The light ignited, but the laughter lingered like smoke, and in that moment, doubt flooded his mind. What had he truly unleashed? As he emerged into the light, a choice lay ahead, one that could either heal him or unravel him utterly. What would the truth demand from him now? Would he finally find peace or just more shadows waiting to consume him again? The light enveloped Marcus, a palpable warmth that felt like the embrace he had longed for. He stumbled, the ground shifting beneath him. Breaths came heavy in his chest, the shadows whispering anxiously, retreating for now. Marcus Sarah's voice was clear, as if she stood right beside him. "You're safe. You faced the darkness, you're not alone anymore." He looked around, absorbing the pulsing light that surrounded him. Colors surged, vivid greens, blues, and soft whites. But the shadows thrummed closer, lurking in the periphery. Truth had broken the chains that had bound him, yet the fear still rippled beneath his skin. Why did it have to be so hard? He whispered, tears springing to his eyes. "Why couldn't I have saved you?" "Because it wasn't your fault," she replied firmly. "You need to forgive yourself. What happened was beyond your control." The words hung in the air, making space for something new. The memories started to reshape themselves before his eyes, morphing into something more than pain. They became lessons. The alley where he had lost control, the sirens screaming a symphony of chaos. Voices of doubt echoed around him. But this time, Marcus didn't shy away. The faces of the past swirled, his parents, mournful yet understanding, his friends, hesitant but unwavering. Each fragment floated around him like petals on a breeze. Marcus the creature loomed in the background, its eyes shimmering with a fierce gaze. "What will you do with this truth? What if I lose it all?" he asked, voice shaking, desperate to shield himself from the impending grief. "Or what if you gain everything?" the creature urged. "What if the truth sets you free?" Clenching his fists, Marcus felt the power of their words coursing through him. He was stronger than the shadows that had haunted him. A flicker of determination ignited within, urging him forward. "I choose to fight for understanding," he declared, scanning the dazzling light. "To confront my guilt, reclaim my life, and cherish her memory." The light surged, pulling away the lingering shadows as if peeling back layers of a long-faded photograph. With every statement, he felt weight lift from his chest. The warmth expanded, wrapping around him like a comforting embrace, stirring hope deep within. "I remember now." The clear images flooded his mind, moments of laughter, shared joy, the love they had fought for. He envisioned Sarah smiling in the sun, her laugh echoing through their childhood home, bright and unwavering. The truth is not a monster, it's a friend. As the shadows recoiled, the creature nodded, a hint of respect shimmering in the air. "Now, walk into the light. You've done the hardest part. Don't let fear steal your future." With one final push, Marcus cast a long look back at the swirling shadows. He took a step forward, the air thickening with possibility. The darkness, once threatening, began to dissipate, the light swallowing them whole. The moment felt ethereal, a bridge between two worlds. "Goodbye, Sarah," he whispered, emotions flooding over him like rising water. "I'll carry you with me. Always." As he stepped fully into the light, clarity washed over him. Everything he had faced, loss, fear, regret, it wasn't the end. It was a chance for a new beginning. Emerging from the void, the world around him solidified into a dazzling clarity. His sprawling estate glimmered in the sunlight. Beauty awakening from the dark, the scent of blooming flowers wafted through the air. He felt lighter, as if the burdens of his past had been shed like fallen leaves. In that moment, the whispers of the shadows faded into insignificance, replaced with the soothing sounds of birdsong. He took a deep breath, ready to embrace the reality he had once feared. The world was full of possibilities. Now, he muttered with conviction, determination coursing through him, I will remember to live. With a heart full of hope and daring resilience, he turned back toward his home and the life waiting for him within. The door creaked open as he stepped across the threshold, a new chapter poised to begin. This is the end of the darkness and the birth of a new dawn. Every step forward was a tribute to love and memory, and the journey ahead was filled with promise. Now, don't miss out. You need to subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and show your support. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about the ending. We love to connect with you. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. The power of this community is in the connection.